Every year we seem to have the same conversation about Red Bull. Is this the year they will challenge Mercedes? But every time we get to the first race, it appears as if for every step forward they make over the winter, Mercedes takes a giant leap. So they spend the rest of the year playing catch up while the Arrows dominate, until their rivals have a large enough buffer to focus their development on the next season. This is the cycle that Red Bull have got themselves caught up in over the past couple of years, and despite all the hype normally built up over the off-season, Mercedes always comes out with a better package. Although I don't expect much change in 2021, I do believe that they will be closer to Mercedes overall. And given the strength of their driver lineup, the duo of Verstappen and Perez can work together to win races more often, even if they don't have the fastest car. Be sure to stick around till the end of this one as we analyze the prospect of Red Bull's 2021 season. After another season of Mercedes taking the championship double, Red Bull had the last laugh at the season finale in Abu Dhabi, as Max Verstappen took a commanding victory over the Arrows for the second time in 2020. So if we go by this, then they should be in a good position heading into this year, right? Well, yes and no. You see, if we think about what it took for them to overhaul Mercedes at the race where only 2 overtakes were made in the last 20 laps, it was the first time all season that the W11 had let them down. An MGK gremlin led to the team turning down their engines as they feared reliability would have prevented them from finishing the race. However, Mercedes claimed that this had a negligible impact and didn't fully explain their pace deficits to Verstappen. One could also look to how much of an impact the virus had on Lewis Hamilton, as he said that he had never felt so blown before. Had the world champion been healthy, it's possible that they would have won the race, but we cannot say for certain. But apart from these two factors, Mercedes just weren't on their A game, and Red Bull did the better job. They were able to get their tyres into the optimal working range, while Mercedes struggled with the soft tyres during qualifying. The Arrows also had to manage their tyres a lot more throughout the race, while Verstappen was able to push a bit more on the hard compound. This win capped off a year full of ups and downs for the Red Bull squad, especially at the beginning. Their early season struggles with the balance of the RB16 caused there to be a lot of inconsistencies in their performance, particularly for their second driver Alex Albon. Verstappen was able to handle those issues much better, and as a result, he managed to achieve a podium in every race he finished during the first half of the season. Those balance issues were more pronounced when we got to the first race in Austria due to the developments they made over the lockdown. They then spent time tracing back what the core issues were and implemented upgrades to mitigate the effect of a fundamental issue which Verstappen suggested could only be rectified in 2021. Meanwhile, Mercedes didn't bring any new components onto their already refined package from the Belgian Grand Prix onwards.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Whether this decision to shift their focus more onto 2021 will pay off is yet to be discovered. But think about this for a second. If Red Bull and every other team on the grid knew that Mercedes would be unstoppable after the opening few races, surely they would have opted to also focus more on 2021 while simultaneously bringing upgrades onto their 2020 car. Now, don't get me wrong, it's obvious that Mercedes will remain the dominant force for this season. However, I don't think that Red Bull will have been caught napping with their 2021 development as much as people are saying. Given that the RB16B will be an evolution of its predecessor, a lot of the issues sorted out last year should translate into this year. Honda's push for a strong final season in Formula 1 will also play a role in how much success the team based in Milton Keynes will have. Either there's something to what I'm saying, or this will age like milk. Now we move on to the driver lineup. But before we get into that, I want to quickly take this opportunity to ask you guys watching to consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. It'll only take you a few seconds to do so, plus it's free. We are currently well on our way to 20k, so any support would be greatly appreciated. But now we've got that out of the way, let's continue. Verstappen was the only real outside threat Mercedes had throughout the entire 2020 season. However, his effectiveness was limited due to his teammates falling too far behind and battling for scraps in the midfield. Now, it's no secret that the second Red Bull seat has become somewhat of a poisoned chalice. There's debate as to whether the car is designed around Verstappen. However, the more I think about it, the more I start to realize that this could be a myth. Why would Red Bull focus its energy solely on designing a car to suit Verstappen's driving style? Red Bull, like any other team, focus on designing the fastest car possible. On paper, that is. Because like we saw at the start of 2020, the RB16 had very poor drivability. Had it not been for Verstappen's brilliance behind the wheel, Red Bull would probably have struggled a lot more this season, given other drivers would have failed to extract the car's maximum potential. But then there's also the question of how influential is Max's feedback on car development. How much does his input to the engineers affect what upgrades are brought to improve the package? Naturally, Red Bull are more likely to lean towards the Dutchman as he is their lead driver and one of the most talented prospects in history. But leaning too much towards his side of the garage might be hurting them more than they think. Since Verstappen can pretty much adapt to anything, he might lead car development in a direction that compromises drivability for increased speed, which in turn hurts his teammates a lot more. In fact, the problem might not even lie with Verstappen necessarily, rather more with Newey's design. General Rodrigan LPs made some very interesting points about how Newey is willing to sacrifice anything for even the smallest gains in performance. They also pointed out that this could be the reason why they are so strong at the end of the season, given his designs require more on-track testing than the regulations allow. Therefore, it will be important for them to ensure that the performance gains on paper translate to both speed and decent handling. How they'll do this? I don't know.
You need to hope for a miracle.
So moving on to Checo, will he suffer the same fate? I put out a poll asking you guys whether you think he will adapt or struggle. And as of recording, 79% of you think he will adapt and 21% of you think he won't. On the one hand, you could say that he might struggle, as Verstappen will be the toughest teammate he will have ever faced. He might also struggle to tame the beast that will be the RB16B, at which point the team will have to seriously evaluate the situation if one of the most complete drivers on the grid can't handle that car. Having said that, the Checo of today is not the same driver as the one from 8 years ago. He has grown a lot since his days at McLaren and will be super motivated to prove himself in a top team. Given this is more or less a one-off opportunity, he will be even more motivated to push the team and his teammate forward. There's a reassuring element of confidence I see in Checo. He knows the value he can bring to Red Bull, whilst at the same time not shouting the odds. If he can consistently line up on the same row as Verstappen, he will best place himself to help the Dutchman take the fight to Mercedes, and better still, they can play 2v1 against the leading W12. So how close can Red Bull get to Mercedes with Verstappen and Perez? Well, I definitely expect at least one more win in 2021 than 2020. Depending on their performance at the start of the season, it might take a while for this to happen, but they will certainly develop well as the year goes on. Which leads me nicely on to one of my predictions. I won't talk too much, but all I'm saying is that it's near the end of the season and at a track where the Red Bulls tend to go very well. In fact, in the last 5 years, they have won twice at this circuit. So with that, I'll leave you all to discuss in the comments, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.
Sergio Perez wins the Mexican Grand Prix for Red Bull.